Hello everyone, it's Larika here. Welcome to part 2 of the bookshelf, of where I'm talking about books that I recommend to help you on your healing journey, which is part of my own book, A Kind Life. I have a lot of books that I recommend for further reading. So part 1 will be linked below. Let's move on to the next section, which is anxiety, fear, and worry. These things are so super connected, isn't it? Anxiety, fear, worry, it's all part of the same thing. So the book that I recommend when you want to work more than what's in my book is another book by Pema Chodron, and it's called Welcoming the Unwelcome. And this book, I got this book during the pandemic, and it was such a such a helpful book to get through that time while I was in London, in Brighton, in the UK, the first part of the pandemic, and couldn't leave the house. We weren't allowed out. Everybody knows about that time. And this book was just such a help through all of that. And it talks about when things happen that we don't, that's really tough. That's really, can I say it, shit, that you just can't deal with. This book helps you on how to deal with that stuff. So yeah, a very beautiful book working on that, getting through that worry and that fear that might come. Then the next one is the section is accepting with purpose. It's talking about when things happen to us and we need to learn to let go and accept what has happened, right? And sometimes we just have to let it go, right? Because if somebody passes away, if a job ends or a relationship ends or those kind of things happen in our lives, how do we deal with that? How do we learn to accept things and move on? And the story, it's a story this time, it's not a book, that I think for me shows acceptance is The Little Mermaid from Hans Christian Andersen. The reason I recommend that book for that is when I was a little girl, my mum read me this story of The Little Mermaid, and every time she read it to me, I cried my little eyes out because it was just so sad that this mermaid fell in love with this prince, and she then went to this underwater magician lady and got to have real feet. Every time when she walked, it would be like stabbing knives in her little feet because it's so sore to walk, but she was willing to give that up for this prince, willing to endure it. And then the prince went and he chose another woman, another girl. Prince was a bit of an idiot. And this poor little mermaid, she was so sad and she couldn't become a mermaid again. And her sisters felt so sorry for her that they went back to this magician lady, and she said, if you poison the prince, then you can become a mermaid. And it was just, she couldn't do it because she loved him too much. And so I can't remember exactly what happened, but then she died and she became foam on the ocean. And I cried at that story. And my mom didn't want to read it for me anymore. And I was like, but Mom, it's so beautiful. And for me, although it's a bit of a harsh story when you tell it like this, for me, even as that young, it represented accepting stuff, letting go of things, even if it's your own life in this regard or the love of your life. For me, it was letting go of things. And so The Little Mermaid was just that for me as a child. And it meant so much for me over the years. And in also in a way of like, it's not as bad as The Little Mermaid's life, right? So you can accept things. Anyway, I got this book. Just wanted to show it because this is so beautiful. It's a book about Hans Christian Andersen. It is in Danish. I don't understand even less Danish than Swedish, but it has all these drawings. Let's just go here. All these drawings of him. And now I'm no longer in the here I am in the screen. It's too big a book to show you. So yeah, it's a beautiful book with all these drawings. I don't know if it's available anywhere, but it's just beautiful in Danish. And that was the book about letting go and accepting things. And then we have The Joy of Being Alive, which is the last section. And it's all about joyfulness and being joyful with your life, even if it's not necessarily always that great, right? And the book I have for this is Find Your Sparkle, Embracing the Magic of Life by Meredith Gaston. It's this really happy, sparkly book. I got it from my friend Evie in Australia as a gift. And oh my gosh, it's just look at that. It's just got all these happy little things, notes in it. And like this is like super sparkle smoothies to make. And it's very lighthearted and fun. I appreciate this book because of that. So for me, it's a good book about joyfulness and enjoying your life. So now we come to the end. I hope this video makes sense to people. It's like the last section in the book, and it's Your Healing Journey bookshelf. And so it's extra books that's not in these sections but that I still feel, that really has helped me in my life. You will know The Gifts of the Crow if you've watched any of my videos. It's one of my favorite books, How Perception, Emotion, and Thought Allow Smart Birds to Behave Like Humans. And it's written by John Marshlove. Oh, what a beautiful book this is. I just, I love the crows. And in this book, there's all this research that's been done at universities on how crows behave, why they, behave like they do, the memories that they have, the relationships they build with humans. Just awesome book. For me, the reason I have it as a healing journey book is that it shows me that the connections I can build with anybody or anything. It's you don't just have to build a connection with somebody that you like a human. You can build a connection with an animal, a bird, with an energy. It's just really a very special book, that. And then the next book I've also had for many, many years, full of little notes on almost every page, is called True Source of Healing, How the Ancient Tibetan Practice of Soul Retrieval Can Transform and Enrich Your Life by Tenzin Wangyal. And he is part of the Bon tradition from Tibet, which is, even before Buddhism, there was this religion, if you want to call it that, called Bon. And it's a kind of a Tibetan shamanic religion. And for them, it's all about connecting with nature. This book is about connecting with the elements of nature, like with earth, sky, air, water, and spirit. And it talks about how in today's society we have lost our connection with the world around us, outside of us, in nature, and how we can get that back. And when we get that connection back and we start building that back, we can become more balanced in our lives. So it's just love that. Love the way all the exercises in there, super simple, and how it describes it. The next book is a bit of a magic book. It's for people who's a bit more interested maybe in more esoteric element of things. And it's called Bird Magic, Wisdom of the Ancient Goddess for Pagans and Wiccans by Sandra Kynes. I use this book a lot for a bit of research as well. It takes all the different birds, like here's you can see a flamingo, and it breaks down how they connect with the goddess, what their associations are with air or water, magical workings that they can help you with, and how to make a connection. So it takes all the different birds and helping you to build a connection with them and how to work with them. Even if the birds are not in your area, you can still learn to work with them. So the next one I have is Really, really interesting book. It's in the form of a conversation between His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Paul Ekman, who's he's like a psychiatrist. I think he's like he works with the mind. So it's East versus West in a conversation, and it's called Emotional Awareness: Overcoming the Obstacles to Psychological Balance and Compassion. And it is a conversation over a period of time between these two amazing people who are really specialists in their areas, and how so many things overlap, but also how they have some differences, but they don't have differences and it turns into anger or I am right. It's a respect for each other's differences, and that I also really thought this, I really like this, their approach to having things that they don't agree on. Yeah. 2 more books to go. The next one, and it's called Emotional Rescue, is how to work with your emotions to transform hurt and confusion into energy that empowers you. And it is written by I can never say this, Judson Honlop. And this book helped me so much. It is really an amazing book. It's all about emotions, thoughts and emotions, and how we can work with it. And how it's not about being perfect. It's not about being a perfect human and doing everything right. It's about trying to just live a good life and having ways to do that. In this book, there's ways to do that. And the final book is one that I've had for many, many years as well. I also teach people how to rebalance their chakras, how to do it themselves so they don't have to go to somebody to do it. They can just do it themselves. A book that I come back to time and time again. It's called Eastern Body, Western Mind: Psychology and the Chakra System as a Path to the Self. And it was written by Anodea Judith. It is a really, really interesting book. I mean, it delves in deeply, and I studied psychology, and so I find it really fascinating. She takes the different periods over a person's life and allocate it to a specific chakra and how we deal with that. And also how the chakras, of course, deal with emotions. It really is an amazing book. That's such a good book. And then finally, as a bonus, it's not a book, but a documentary that I watched years ago, many, many years ago. And I love this documentary. It's in French, but it has subtitles, and it's called Once Upon a Forest. And it's a film by Luc Jacquet. I can't say, I don't speak French. And it's a documentary about trees, how trees grow, how when something gets destroyed and it comes back again. It's the visual element of it, so beautiful. And having this French voice over that talk about in the background with that lovely French, it sounds so beautiful. And then have just very subtle subtitles at the bottom that's not overwhelming. It's a fantastic, fantastic book. And in there it has illustrations, not book, movie. Illustrations of this botanist called Frances Haller, and they make the illustrations come alive, like put movement in them. Beautiful, beautiful movie that I can recommend. And the reason I have it in the healing journey is about how trees can teach us on how we sometimes stand still for years, centuries. The trees stand still, the old trees, and then they start to die. And we as humans are the same. We don't live forever. At some point, our lives will end. And we can learn from the trees that sometimes maybe we don't have a lot of growth in some years, and other years we grow a lot. And then there comes a time when we have to end and things move. We have to move to something else when we pass away, when we die. But for me, our energy stays. And this is how they talk about the trees, energy basically in the roots, that still stay for a long time, and that the tree becomes the nutrition for the next generation. So our ideas is how I interpret it for myself. The ideas that I have as a human, and that I share with the people around me, and the energy that I put out in the world, that will stay and hopefully touch somebody, and that somebody will then maybe touch somebody else. And so my energy will keep going, just as that your energy will keep going all the time, because it doesn't disappear. It just shifts from this to next to next. So yeah, so I love that documentary so much. So that's all the books that I have that I recommend, and one movie in my book, A Kind Life. I will link below if you're interested in getting a copy of it. And yeah, tell me if you have any of these books and what you think of them, if you do have, or if you're interested in maybe getting some of them. So yeah, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I wish you a wonderful day. Bye.